Have you ever stood in front of the mirror and wondered why, despite trying harder than ever, eating better, working longer, grabbing sleep whenever you can, your body still feels like it's working against you? The belly fat won't budge. Your sleep leaves you unrefreshed. Your energy bounces up and down. Your motivation is different. Your patience is shorter. And the thing that quietly worries you most, your desire has faded. Not suddenly, not dramatically, slowly, almost invisibly, month after month, year after year. Many people blame aging, others blame hormones or relationships. Increasingly, modern science points to a deeper, subtler culprit: stress. Not the cinematic life or death kind of stress, but the daily grind. Emails, deadlines, traffic, bills, endless notifications, financial worry, juggling responsibilities. These aren't acute emergencies. They're persistent, low-level pressures that rarely switch off. Today, we'll explore the story behind how that steady background stress rewires your biology. Hormones, metabolism, sleep, appetite, recovery, and even intimacy. Most people don't notice this process until the consequences have already accumulated, but understanding the chain reaction gives us a powerful way to reverse course. Why does the body respond to stress in the first place? Simple: survival. For most of human history, stress was immediate and short-lived. A predator appears, adrenaline surges, cortisol rises, blood sugar climbs, heart rate increases. Your body mobilizes energy and attention to fight or flee. Once danger passes, the system resets and recovery begins. The problem today is that the stress response evolved for threats that end. Modern stress is continuous. There's no lion to run from, but the body reacts the same way and it stays activated. That chronic activation changes everything. At the center of this story sits one hormone: cortisol. Often called the stress hormone, but that label understates its role. Cortisol is an energy management hormone and part of a larger regulatory network, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal, or HPA, axis. In short bursts, it's life-saving. Chronically elevated, it becomes disruptive. Think of cortisol like fire, excellent for warmth in a fireplace, dangerous when it spreads through the house. One of the first places chronic stress shows up is around the waist. People assume belly fat is just about calories. Biology rarely follows that simple rule. Under persistent stress, the body prioritizes energy storage, especially visceral fat around the abdomen. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. If resources seem uncertain, storing energy where it can be quickly mobilized is protective. But in modern life, that adaptive response becomes maladaptive. Research links persistent cortisol elevation with increased abdominal fat, not because the body is broken, but because it's acting like a survival machine in an environment that no longer fits. Cortisol doesn't work alone. It partners with insulin. When cortisol rises, blood sugar often does too, partly because cortisol stimulates gluconeogenesis, the creation of glucose, to provide fuel. In the past, that fuel supported escape and action. Now it often isn't used. Over time, the body becomes less efficient at clearing glucose, insulin levels climb, and insulin resistance can develop. That makes fat storage easier, weight loss harder, energy unreliable, and cravings more intense. You're not necessarily overeating because you lack willpower. You're responding to a biological system trying to rebalance energy in the face of ongoing stress. Stress also changes appetite and reward pathways in the brain. Under pressure, many people crave quick comfort: sugar, processed foods, high-calorie snacks that spike dopamine and temporarily soothe. Those foods further worsen metabolic function, feeding the cycle. So when you find yourself reaching for the cookie tin after a tough day, remember, it's not just a bad choice. Biology is nudging your behavior. Sleep is perhaps the most obvious casualty. Many describe themselves as exhausted, yet unable to fall or stay asleep. Tired, but wired. That chronic vigilance is a sign the nervous system hasn't disengaged. Thoughts replay, worry loops start, and the brain refuses to switch off. Without quality sleep, recovery stalls. Poor sleep raises cortisol. Raised cortisol worsens sleep. It's a feedback loop that can quietly erode health. Another area most people avoid talking about: libido and intimacy. Desire is closely tied to how safe and resourced your body perceives itself to be. Reproduction takes energy, so does healing and thriving. When the brain interprets the world as stressful and scarce, it reallocates resources away from reproduction and toward survival. A decline in libido, interest in sex, or emotional openness is often not a moral failing or simply an interpersonal problem. It's a biological signal that the nervous system is on high alert. This pattern is common among high-achieving professionals. Careers advance, responsibilities grow, stress accumulates, performance and income may improve, yet sleep deteriorates, energy wanes, relationships fray, and vitality fades. Success can look like survival from the body's perspective: resources spent to meet demands, recovery postponed until later. One interesting development is how wearables and modern physiology monitoring detect problems before we do. People often report, "I'm fine," while their body tells a different story. Heart rate variability, HRV, falls, resting heart rate creeps up, sleep becomes fragmented, readiness scores decline. These physiological whispers are early warning signs, signals we can act on much earlier than when burnout or illness appears. The good news, the body is adaptable. The same systems that respond to stress can also learn to recover. Small, consistent changes compound. Here are principles that matter and why. Morning sunlight. Exposure to bright natural light soon after waking helps anchor circadian rhythms, aligning cortisol and melatonin cycles for better sleep and daytime alertness. Movement. Regular activity, even a simple 20-30-minute brisk walk outdoors, improves cortisol rhythms, supports glucose uptake, boosts mood, and primes sleep. It's not about punishing exercise, it's about consistent movement that signals safety and engagement to your nervous system. Sleep consistency. Going to bed and waking up at similar times each day trains your internal clock, improving sleep quality and recovery. Stress management techniques. Breathwork. For example, slow diaphragmatic breathing or box breathing. Inhale for 4, hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4. Short mindfulness sessions and simple grounding practices reduce sympathetic arousal and bring the nervous system back toward balance. Social connection. Meaningful conversations, laughter, and emotional support are powerful recovery tools. Humans are social animals, and connection down regulates stress systems. Exercise and recovery balance. Strength training, aerobic movement, and restorative practices like yoga and mobility work improve metabolic health and resilience when balanced with adequate rest. Prioritizing recovery. Activities that promote relaxation and pleasure, reading, nature time, hobbies, are not luxuries but essential inputs that restore physiology. Consider one small but profound example, a 20-minute walk outside. It sounds trivial, but it does a lot. Exposure to daylight helps set circadian timing. Moderate movement improves insulin sensitivity. Fresh air and gentle exertion lower stress hormones. The rhythm of walking calms the mind. One simple behavior has multiple biological returns. The body is a system. Systems respond to patterns, not isolated actions. This is also why the future of health is shifting from symptom management to physiological intelligence, tracking and understanding patterns long before disease emerges. Sleep tracking, HRV, readiness scores, and continuous monitoring won't replace medical care, but they provide context, early signals that let you intervene sooner, tweak routines, reduce load, prioritize sleep, or seek help before problems cascade. At OXYZEN, that's our guiding philosophy: awareness, not fear. We aim to help people listen to what their bodies are communicating so they can identify when stress is accumulating and when recovery is declining. The earlier you notice those drifts, the easier they are to correct. So if you're battling belly fat, poor sleep, low energy, reduced desire, or chronic fatigue, don't assume you're broken. Ask a different question. What if these symptoms are connected? What if they're different expressions of the same biological story, one written by stress, shaped by hormones, and influenced by recovery patterns? When you stop treating these issues as isolated problems and begin aligning sleep, movement, nutrition, stress management, and social connection, something remarkable happens. Energy returns, sleep deepens, metabolism steadies, desire rekindles, and life feels fuller. Practical starting points you can try this week. Aim for 20-30 minutes of daylight movement each morning. Set a consistent sleep-wake schedule, even on weekends. Try one 5-minute breathing or grounding practice when stress spikes. Reduce late afternoon caffeine and limit screen time 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Prioritize one meaningful social interaction. Call a friend, share a meal without devices. Track simple metrics for 2 weeks: sleep duration, mood, energy, and one physiological signal if you have a wearable. Look for patterns. These aren't quick-fix promises. They're invitations to notice, to collect data, and to build habits that shift the balance from surviving to thriving. I'm Dr. Yende. Thank you for joining me for this episode of OXYZEN Health Intelligence. Your body is constantly communicating. Sometimes the symptoms we dislike most are messages asking us to pay attention. Notice the patterns. Make small changes. Give your biology the chance to recover. I'll see you in the next episode.